Leading our bulletin this hour, frustrated victims of the KZN floods are seeking permanent homes. It's been nearly 6 months since devastating floods left hundreds dead and many others homeless. The Premier's attempts to provide a temporary solution were met with resistance over the weekend. Families will be moved out of the community hall they've been living in to former student accommodation. eNCA's Nqobile Madlala has the latest and joins us this morning. Good morning, Nqobile. What are community members saying? I mean, 6 months is honestly a long time to be in some sort of temporary structure.
Well, definitely a long time, especially for the families that haven't even have something as simple as privacy. Fundo, I mean, we have seen what the Premier is talking about, saying that these are some of the options that are on the table, but we have seen the impact, having been on the ground and spoken to some of the families that were part of, that saw that impact in their own families, in their own lives, even others losing as so far as brothers and sisters and so on. So 6 months is a very long time. But whilst we wait to go walk with them this journey where they are going to be hearing from, I understand at this point, not confirmed, though, from Human Settlement that's going to explain more. I want to bring in a political analyst on the ground. Now, I know that these are great news, hearing that 47 families are going to be getting that temporal accommodation. But as somebody who has seen it on the ground and somebody who has spoken to people on the ground, is this really great news?
This is another gimmick from a very inhumane government, because when you talk about that number, I think they're supposed to be ashamed of themselves, because there are more than 500 families who are destitute as we speak, And so this is one of those PR exercises from our government where you ask yourself whether these people they really take our people serious, or they are just doing it for themselves. Because, when you were listening to that media briefing, it was not about the people, it was about them, And so bear in mind that we are going to 2024 elections, and also in the ANC, they simply conflict everything. They are going to the national ANC election. And so maybe is another way, or is another plot of promoting themselves for the position in the ANC, or also to promote the ANC for 2024. But the fact of the matter is, the ANC in our province, when it comes to the social housing, it must be stated out that they have failed dismally. And we have seen this gimmick. Remember that MEC Sbia, as well as Sihlezi, they've done this thing before, and there is nothing fruitful that is coming out of this gimmick. And so I think even the media must start to take these people into red task, and they must show these areas where they claim that people are being accommodated, because no one is being accommodated. People are still in these squalors, in halls, in tents, and in these inhuman condition places where human beings are not supposed to be accommodated, but they've simply stuck them there. And so I think what Nomusa is doing seriously is not expected from someone whom we thought that as a woman she will come with a new dimension when it comes to the human lives. But it seems as if the patriarchal mentality is also encroaching to her, and so it's a serious disgrace.
But I mean, Kolani, 47 families being moved to these accommodation, you will think that this is a breakthrough. They're speaking of the fact that there are areas that have been earmarked and there will be some building that will happen there. You still don't think that's convincing?
There is no political will. Remember that there was an organization, or there is an organization known as Umsinsi. They took people to what we call it a Transnet lodge. It was the same government that removed those people from that lodge, And remember that in 2017, when you go to Umlazi, there is an area where Cyril Ramaphosa himself, he said people must not continue be staying in that place. But as we speak, people are still there. And so Umsinsi and other organizations has been crying and saying to the government, look, listen to us. We want to work with you. Here are the people who are destitute, not because of their own making, but because of the irresponsible from our government. And so today, yesterday, when we saw Nomusa parading herself as someone who's going to bring salvation to the people of KwaZulu-Natal, one simple said, God, Jesus Christ, what is happening in this country? Is this the really lack of ethic, moral leadership, leadership that is truthful to its own people? And so what she did yesterday, I can assure you, is not truthful at all. If there is truthful in what she did, remember that in 2017, such thing happened, but the people who were affected in 2017, they are still destitute even today. They are homeless. And so I don't think that government do have a plan. But after all, it was Kulumbatha himself and other ANC members, even Kgalema Motlanthe, made it clear that ANC was not ready to govern. And so I don't think that we need to expect anything from the ANC when it comes to such issues.
But in terms of these families, how are they doing at this point? I mean, you're talking as far back as 2017.
Look, you know, a life of a South African native, you know, these are the airbrushed people, you know, people that, according to the ANC, they add no value to themselves, you know, unless when it's called, when is the election time, you know. And so the slaves, it's just the narrative of the slaves. You know, slaves are the people that you don't really treat them as human beings. Because if you go to those halls, you look at the horrible conditions. Even yourself, you can't sleep there one night. But these people have been there for the 6 months, and others have been in these tents and hall since 2017.
So now, what would you say is a solution to all of this, considering that, I mean, they are saying that there is land and they could potentially be building that could be happening. Have you even heard about the tenders or potential people that will be doing this building?
Look, you know, what is very funny? The national government, when it was when KZN was really drowning in flood tragedy, it was the national government that said, look, we're not going to give you funds. We'd rather do it from the national offices, you know, because we don't trust you because of your corruption and so forth. And so, because you remember that what happened during the COVID time, you know, the corruption and so forth. And I think the issue here is no longer about the ANC or delivering these promises to the people. It's about the institution that is an institution that I don't think that is still deserving it to be heard, and I don't think that is the institution that is still deserving that we give it a chance to do salvation to the South African, because ANC has been in power for the past 28 years and they've failed the South African people. The issue of social housing is the most embarrassing thing in our country, that we still have people who still stays in shack after 28 years. And so it shows that these people were not ready to govern. It shows clearly that these people, they don't have a plan at all on behalf of the people who are poor.
All right. Thank you very much. Well, that's a political analyst. I think what he's saying there, Mfundo, is that people still need help, and there's a lot of help there's still a lot that needs to be planted on the ground. And he's saying that, he's highlighting that these issues are very deep and that they go as far as 2017. But of course, we are going to be meeting with those flood victims, which we understand they're on their way right now to Tusong Hall. So we will be going to them to hear what does this mean for them. We know that they are going to be moving slightly closer to where they were, which is about 10K away from where they were, and to these students' housing. Of course, a lot of them are hopeful that they will get a space, but 6 months is a very long time to be living in a hall with a lot of issues, especially around the lines of ablution, as well as in terms of sleeping in those thin mattresses and so on. So 6 months is a very long time, but we'll hear from them how are they affected.
It's honestly been a very, very difficult period for them, but it will be interesting to hear from them, at least in the next hour, what they have to say about the move to slightly better accommodation. We'll leave it there for now. Thank you very much for that update. That's a reporter, Nqobile Madlala, out in KZN. Let's shift our focus now